Greetings everyone, this is Vakar Corby from TFT Perspective, and yesterday there was an article published in Washington Post in which it was highlighted that Indian intelligence agency and their affiliates and their embassies are now involved in assassination campaigns across the world, especially wherever they find either Indian dissidents or some leaders or activists who Modi, Doval, and maybe Jaishankar think that they are working against the interest of India. Uh, you know that I think in last 2 years, especially after Hardeep Singh Nijar's assassination in Canada, there was a lot of hue and cry by the Canadian Prime Minister on the floor of the Parliament, and that's why now I think Justin Trudeau is getting a lot of flack from Indian activists or the Bhakts from India as well as Indian diaspora. Now, this I think assassination campaign, or I would say state-sponsored terrorism, is nothing new. As far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan is very clear that this has been happening with Pakistan for I would say 2 decades now. Unfortunately, with the war on terror and Islamophobia, this aspect was, I would say, pushed under the carpet by the Western media as well as Western governments. But now, since the fire has reached their capitals, and we know that even in the US, there was an attempt on Gurpatwant Singh Pannu by research analysis being a hitman, but somehow it was, I think, compromised. And then there's a trial going on, which includes some of the raw operators also. But I think we should link it what has been the RSS methodology in last you can say a decade or so since Modi came to power, or wherever they was in power even before he became the prime minister. Like in Gujarat, we know what happened to Muslims after let's say Modi was the chief minister, and he was basically called a butcher of Gujarat. Sorry to say, but that's how he was titled. Now, if you go back a little bit, there have been, I would say, saner elements, activists, especially left-wing activists in India, who have raised the voice against rise of BJP and RSS and how it's going to actually impact the Indian internal polity. And now we have, it's very open that India has become actually a majoritarian abyss where you have testimonies of witnesses to mob lynching, stories of college students driven to suicide. We know the case of Vimal Ramula, and then, of course, right wing oppression, ostracization of Muslims and their businesses. I think, also remind the audience about a video series which was done by Mr. Patwardhan with the title Reason. It's very interesting, in which he basically uh, exposed the assassination squads of RSS. And if you look at the organization of RSS, it has a number of branches and sequels going down to village level. And there are, I would say, millions of supporters. Patwardhan basically built this documentary on assassination of 4 activists, which were taken out by a Sanatan Sanstha with a 9mm pistol. And this documentary is titled Reason. First is Narendra Dabholkar, a former physician who basically campaigned against oppressive Hindu superstitions in the village, and basically for an awareness campaign. Then came Gauri Lankesh, a very famous journalist who was a critic of BJP, and again she was titled something like urban exile at that time, or that she had linked with Naxals. Then came M.M. Kalburgi, who was a scholar, and he spoke out against practice of worshipping Hindu idols, and they were all shot point blank, same caliber pistol as I mentioned. And shooters were the men who were seen escaping on motorcycles. Then came basically Govind Pansare, a lawyer and communist intellectual. If you look at videos, he was very vocal against RSS, and that was his assassination took place in February 2015. And again, nothing has actually come out. If you look at the connections of the network of Abhinav Bharat, Sanatan Sanstha, and RSS, it is very clear. But unfortunately, including what happened to Basically, Himmat Karkare, the intelligence officer who was taken out by the Sanatan Sanstha gangs during Mumbai, so-called Mumbai attacks. And those who were involved included Colonel Prohit, also included basically Sadhvi Pragya Thakur, and she landed up in the Lok Sabha. Now, coming back to, I think, the trans-border repression by Modi, or you can say trans-border hit squads, and these are eulogized on TV. You've seen how Gaurav Arya celebrates it. I think now there has been a word of caution since it was disclosed that you cannot actually, celebrate it on TV. But if Modi himself says कि हम घुस के मारते हैं just like a street boy, then I'm sure his followers in the I would say RSS camp and the Godi media would do it. So this is very, very natural. Uh, I think one of the prominent murders that was taken place was of Tamba or Amir Sarfraz in Pakistan, and he was, as per the Washington Post report, taken out by Raw through a network which operates in Afghanistan as well as in Middle East. What they do is generally they would hire poor people, and then there'll be some director from Middle East, unfortunately, and I am sure the Middle Eastern government should now look into it because the things have now come in the open. And he would then direct them to carry out the reconnaissance of the target and then send him or her the pictures when the operation takes place. So this has been going on. I think Pakistan has seen almost 6 assassinations like this. Some allegedly connected to Kashmir freedom struggle, but anyway, they were Pakistani citizens, so that is enough. Now, if you look at Indian Prime Minister, who has cast himself as tougher and more willing to take on India's enemies than any other leader since independence, basically his relationship has also now come under shadow because of his attempt now to, hit above his chest, was that famous 56th in chest, and then sending assassination squads into US, Canada, and also in UK. I think we did cover that Avtar Singh Khanda was also killed, and I am sure, look at his mother's, testimony. It indicates that it was taken out by the Indian agents. Why Sikhs are the target? We know we've done programs on that, and why basically Sikh diaspora has become a symbol of hate for Indians is that they raise their voice for basically rights in Indian Punjab, Khalistan. They feel that it has been actually monopolized. Sikhs are not even, I think, considered Sikhs in Indian constitution. They are considered Hindus, and Sikhs is just a branch of Hindus. Definitely, they are the people who built an empire, and they are very proud people. But if you look at now assassination attempts and assassinations of Hardeep Singh Nijar in Canada, and then Avtar Singh Khanda in UK, and then finally assassination attempt on basically Gurpatwan Singh Pannu in US. Now, if you look at the officers involved, US federal indictment is basically now going against a raw officer in New Delhi named Vikas Yadav. And interestingly, these guys are Yadav mostly, like Kulbhushan Yadav, who operated in Pakistan. Now you have Vikas Yadav operating, let's say, in US. And he directed an assassination attempt on Pannu. Basically, hired a businessman, Nikhil Gupta, and then he was supposed to hire an assassin. Basically, I've seen them, they're working in 4 layers. So you have a main person from, let's say within India, it will be the IB, and outside it will research analysis wing. Definitely orders do come from top. So, and I link it how 3 of their main ministries are involved. So it means basically the orders come from Narendra Modi himself. So you have the mastermind or the director, and then you have a layer of, maybe he could be a professor, he could be an Indian businessman, he could be maybe, we don't know, celebrity, and then he starts the hitman, and then of course hitman basically does the job, and what the conversations have emerged, especially from Nikhil Gupta, were that he was under a lot of pressure, and they have been, I think, chatting on mainly WhatsApp, etc. And this was then, of course, linked with what happened in Canada. So there was also a linkage of the same agencies, same people doing it in Canada as well as in United States. So I think with these things coming up, it's very clear that officially the Indian government is now involved at state level. So if you look at three ministries that I mentioned, and I'll just add what happened in Qatar, that there were Indian naval officers of the rank of captain, which is equal to a colonel. They were involved in sabotaging their submarine program and then leaking it to Israel. And they were awarded with death sentence. It means that if they were awarded with death sentence by the Qatari authorities, it means there was something very, very serious. And then I think Modi begged to the Emir of Qatar, and finally, I think for humanity, they were kind of released. But if the military officers are getting involved, that means Ministry of Defense is involved, means Rajnath Singh is involved. And if their embassies are involved, here we have two embassies. One is the Indian High Commission in Canada and then Indian Embassy in the United States or Washington. It means that now it's being done under patronage of Mr. Jay Shankar, who appears to be a very smart guy with a lot of intellect and slang and sense of humor. But basically, he's running death squad, so that's, I think, very, very serious. And then comes the, I would say, ministry or the office which actually coordinates all those hit squads. This is Ajit Doval's office, who was, as far as Pakistan is concerned, he was very clear that they have to go for offensive defense. And in this case, he said that we should be able to, we can't fight them, but we should be able to then hit them through other means. And other means are basically, as we've seen, spreading terrorism at times, involving Afghan weapon systems or Afghani people, or maybe I would say some disenfranchised Pakistanis through money. And then you have a network operating. So if these three ministries are involved, you have Ministry of External Affairs, Ministry of Defense, and Mr. Doval's office, which is definitely the senior most ministry, the Ministry of the Advisor, which basically controls raw research analysis being. It means that finally it's Narendra Modi who is involved and who's been actually even, I think, like a street boy, as I mentioned, claiming that I'm Ghus ke marenge and all that. This is basically, and that works on TikTok. That works on, I would say, their WhatsApp University of the RSS. That works in the Hindu, hardcore vote, and that's how they have basically succeeded. Main thing is that if that is the case, that things are open, things are very clear. Now there is evidence why India should not be taken as a state to International Criminal Court, the ICC, or maybe ICJ. I don't know. So Pakistan should hire, I think, good lawyers and take this case. And maybe then we can ask the Five Eyes and those governments who are, let's say, been targeted by India to join in. We know that this assassination attempt against Gurpatwant Singh Pannu is already, I think there is some movement. That's why probably Ajit Doval is now avoiding visiting United States, because there are chances that he'll be arrested. Then you connect it with their corporate India. We've seen the, I would say, spree of frauds, money laundering by Adani Group. I don't know about the Ambanis, but things have in Hindenburg report, and later on he was charged by a US court in New York probably for the fraud, also for basically a bribe, and then enlisting these companies on New York Stock Exchange. So it means the corporate India is also involved. If you look at their overseas, I would say, black money in the Middle East or in other overseas havens. So I would rather say that somebody should carry out a research how corporate India is now connected with these death squads also. Because I'm sure the way money is flowing into the West, there is some linkage. So all told, I think India is there for, I would say, a big exposure in 2025. Hopefully the West, instead of displaying hypocrisy every time they deal with India, should publicly now come out and take India to task in a court of law. Thank you very much.